please, as I read from the Word of God, because it says there that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. The Lord who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity, and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works, a chosen generation and a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that we should show forth the praises of him who hath called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. Would you pray with me, please? Dear Lord, your truth is our shield and buckler. We humbly ask you to fill our souls with your holy zeal. Help us to grasp the inconceivable work you have done in times past, both corporately here in America and across the earth, in each and every individual heart that cries out to you for salvation. Help us to acknowledge your watch care over our lives, and as a shepherd tends to his flocks, you've tenderly blessed us and kept us from destruction. We humbly ask for your covering over us as we attempt to serve you with every breath and every step, that we may glorify you, because this battle is ultimately about you and your kingdom. We ask that you go before us, God. Make a way where there seems to be no way, that we and our progeny shall walk in your ways forever and ever. Amen. Amen. I'm Barbara Holwadel. I'm running for State Central Committee, Senate District 8. God only knows where Senate District 8 is, and he only knows when that election will be. But we're going to run and try to fight the good fight anyway. Today on stage with me here is Seth Morgan, who's in a similar situation. Seth is running in Senate District 7, and he is going to bring the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you so much, Barbara. And it's great to see so many old friends. Grateful to have the honor to do this with you. So let's start. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now give a warm welcome to our host. That's not a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I want to thank our organizers. We've got about 12 people here today that put this meeting on. Hope you enjoy it. I also want to thank our speakers, the vendors who have come here. I want to thank all of you for coming. And I especially want to thank the boots on the ground Bikers for Trump for coming. Yes. George, you ready for the video?
Sure, I need a mic.
Here. There are two mics up here.
Oh, come here.
So this is the promo video.
Now, the 15 days that we had of mitigation clearly have had an effect, although it's tough to quantitate it because of those two opposing forces.
What we do now, today, tomorrow, will determine how many of us die.
freedom. We're all for restoring liberty. And I want to take you back a little bit to 2015. In November of 2015, I was the Hamilton County Chair for Trump. And one of the things that they had asked me to do was to check and find out who was going to support Trump in the primary. And I made phone calls, I checked websites and everything, and I have to tell you, there was only one in the whole state of Ohio that supported Trump in the primary, and that's our next speaker, JimRenacci.
All right.
Where's Jim at? There he is.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here. This is what we need to do to change our state, to change our country, to change our way of life. And quite frankly, I've been trying to do that for many, many years. For those who don't know me, I've been a businessman for 39 years. Yes, I got involved in politics in 29 when my dealership was taken away from me. Everybody remember when Obama administration took over General Motors? I lost my car dealership. And that's when I said, enough's enough, I'm going to get involved. People need to get involved before those moments occur. That's the big problem. We wait too long. We get involved and we don't think about it. It's always when things are effective. The problem is we're going to get things affected all the time if we don't change leadership and change things around. So look, I jumped into that race. I defeated a career politician at that time. Was redistricted into another race. We're talking about redistricting now. Isn't that amazing? 10 years ago, we had another mess called redistricting. And what they ended up doing, I always chuckle because a lot of people say, Renacci's establishment. Really? If you go back, you'll see that my district was rechanged so that I had my second term, after 2 years, I had to run against another incumbent Democrat. That has never happened in the history of the United States. And I'm proud to say there is only one member of the House of Representatives, the United States House of Representatives, who has defeated two incumbent Democrats 2 cycles in a row, and that's me.
Right.
So, that's me because establishment really wanted to move those districts around, and I was one who ended up getting the short end of that. But that was okay. I stuck in Washington long enough to realize it was a broken place, it was a bad place, and we needed to fix things. And many of you remember, how many in the room remember that I jumped into the governor's race in 2017? I jumped into the governor's race in 2017. I could have been in Congress today. I could still be in Congress. It's a broken place. But I decided to come back because the only place we're going to fix this great country is back in the States. It's not going to be whoever you elect for the House or your Senate, God bless you, they're not going to get anything done. And I know if they were here, they would say, oh, you know, we're going to go down there and fight for you. No, they're not, because they become one of 535 people, and leadership controls everything. But the only place we can correct things is in the state. When you have a governor who says, no more, we're not going to listen, we're not going to do what you want us to do, federal government, and we're going to change things, and that's what I want to do for you.
Thank you.
So my background is not politics, my background is business, and I chuckle. I'll run through some of this. I mean, one of the things that I realize, I've been in this race now for about 9 months, and the other campaign says, well, Renacci's a rhino, and I always say, what is a rhino? I'll tell you what a rhino is. A rhino is somebody who believes against Republican policies, but they say they're a Republican, right? Well, let's face it, we got a lot of rhinos out there, but JimRenacci's not one of them, all right? The best example I'll give you, and I tell this to people, everybody believes you should have the right not to be forced to wear a mask or have a vaccination, right? I agree with that. But it also comes with the opposite side, that if somebody wants to wear a mask or wants to get a vaccination, they should be allowed to too, right?
Yeah.
We should agree with that. The problem is, I call this a rhino, is when they point at the person who has a mask on and says, shame on you for wearing a mask. Listen, We need to have the freedom to do what we believe is right, not have the government tell us what we should do. So, I'm a firm believer when it comes to medical freedom, it's your choice. It's a decision you make with your physician, and if that physician tells you you should wear a mask, and you agree with that, that's your choice. Anybody who tells you or walks up to you and says, shame on you for having a mask, that's a rhino. All right? And anybody who walks up to you after you've gotten a vaccination because your physician told you to get vaccination, that's a rhino. All right? That's the definition of rhino. Somebody who believes you can't exercise your rights, that's a rhino. That's the definition of rhino. All right? A career politician. I always chuckle. People say, well, Renacci's a career politician because he was in Congress for 8 years. Well, how many of you would like to see a Governor DeSantis as the governor of Ohio? How long has Governor DeSantis been in politics? Does anybody know? Any guesses?
4 years, 26 years.
16 years.
wow.
16 years. All right? How about Christy Nome, Governor Nome? Would you like to see a Governor Nome? Right? How many years has she been in? Anybody know? 19 years.
Wow.
You can look this stuff up. Are they career politicians or are they career fighters? Are they people who have lived in the real world and then went to fight for you? And yes, they've been there longer than 4 years or 8 years, yes. I mean, the definition of a career politician can't be somebody who just was in office. That would be ridiculous. In fact, we need people who are in office who actually support our principles and values to be fighting for us. And that's the real key of the people we need. And that's why I'm so happy to be here, because, look, it's not just about the governor's race. It's about the state central committee. It's about all of the boards of elections. It's about all of these races, council races. It's all of these. We got to take our state back, but it comes from taking back all the places from school boards all the way up to the governor. And once we do that, we can take our state back and we can take our country back. Now, for those who, again, don't realize, I jumped into this race, this governor's race, because I really do believe we need to defeat Dewan. All right?
Yes.
How many people here believe that? And I jumped in, like I did back in 2010, in the congressional race, because I didn't believe there was anybody else that could defeat that incumbent. And today, when I jumped in, I didn't believe there was anybody in the race that could defeat Dewan, and that's why I jumped in. Now, we are moving, our message is strong, and I'm going to tell you a little bit. It's been interesting. I've now had the chance to speak in the same room with Governor Dewan, but only one time. I've also had the opportunity to speak in a room 2 times with Lieutenant Governor Eusted. I can tell you that they don't show up for Republican events.
Nope.
They don't show up for Republican events. The last week, on a Saturday, Governor Dewan showed up, and he got booed. He got booed. That's how you want to see it. But here's what Governor Dewan said. And I'm going to tell you what he said, and then I'm going to tell you my vision, because it's not really about what he said, except I want you to remember. First thing he said is he is the most pro-life governor that Ohio's ever had. Right? Now here's what I want you to remember. He appointed a pro-abortion medical director, and he never should get a pass for being pro-life ever again. Now, while I was there, he also said, well, there's going to be a candidate get up here and say that I didn't close abortion facilities. And I know he was pointing at me, and that's okay. Because let's face it, while he was unconstitutionally closing businesses, closing small businesses, closing churches. Now, he'll say he didn't close churches, but let's face it. He put the fear of God in everybody so that churches did close. And he did unconstitutionally close businesses, set curfews, decide what business was essential and what business wasn't. But when it came to abortion facilities, he let them go. He let them go. He is not a pro-life governor, and don't you let him take that mantle. Please. I can tell you that the only pro-life team that will be the #1 pro-life team in the entire country is Renacci and not And one of the things I promise you we will do will always be to protect the unborn. Second thing Governor DeWine did is he got up and he said, I am the most strongest Second Amendment governor ever in the history of Ohio. I signed constitutional carry and I signed stand your ground. And I got up and said, you know what, the governor did that. That's because he's in a primary and he's losing.
Yep.
But let's not forget, in 2019, he came out with Strong Ohio, which was one of the most anti-gun pieces of legislation, and he was pushing it and pushing it. And let's not forget that in 2020, he also tried to sneak it into the budget.
Yep.
This governor is not pro-gun. He's got an F record with the NRA. Please do not let him take that mantle either. All right? Last thing he said was, we are the most pro-business state in the entire country. He's not looking at statistics. We rank anywhere from 35th to 50th, 35th to 50th on being pro-business. We rank 37th in tax favorability. And he also turned around and said, because you'll hear him, by the way, he's got a commercial. You see the commercial? He's lying on the commercial. He said, I passed tax cuts and balanced the budget. Well, let me tell you something. None of his budgets had a tax cut. You have to give credit to the House and Senate because their budgets are the one that had the tax cuts, and he signed them. He signed them. And when he says he balanced the budget, guess what? He has to. He has to. It's constitutional. Don't give him any credit for that. These are the kind of things that this governor will tell you. But we can't let people forget what he's done. Now let me tell you what my vision is. And this is what's important. I promise you that I'm going to work extremely hard. My number one goal in the Renacci NOP team will be to overhaul our education system, eliminate CRT, eliminate social emotional learning, and eliminate comprehensive sexual skills. This governor wanted our children to wear masks for 8 hours a day. That's child abuse. And I promise you, we will never let that happen under Renacci NOP. There's nothing going on called a backpack bill. I'm going to make it simple. We're going to come up with a cost to educate our children per child, and I'm going to work with the State House and State Senate so that you, as a family member, can take that amount and go to any school you want. That's the Number two, when it comes to election integrity, I promise you this. We do have problems with our election system. I don't understand why we don't have a photo ID. We should have a photo ID. I'm not asking for a photo ID. When it comes to our actual election account, I'm going to ask for forensic audits on a random basis. We need to have it. Number three, and this is extremely important to me, and I've said it time and time again. If any plane lands, and we're going to be watching, if any plane lands with illegal immigrants, they're going to have enough time to fuel up and get right back out. And we should never, ever, ever bring in refugees until we take care of our homeless veterans first. Number four, and this is important, when it comes to life, not only will you have the strongest life team ever, and I believe nationally, but we're going to appoint in our administration a protector of the unborn. And I think that's important. Finally, when it comes to guns, I mean, I have to laugh. Would you rather have a governor who's standing usually on a box when he's up there? Would you rather have a governor who stands there talking about the Second Amendment, or a governor who actually carries a gun all the time?
There you go.
I am going to protect your Second Amendment. When it comes to constitutional rights, I promise you this, no one will ever take away your constitutional rights and force you to be vaccinated, force you to wear a mask, force you to do things that are unconstitutional. Your business will be protected. By the way, going back to the Second Amendment, I'm also going to ask the legislature, we have a castle doctrine for your home where you can protect yourself. I want the castle doctrine in your business too. Any candidate out there that thinks they can just vote their way around, and every once in a while I hear these candidates say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, you know what, they're just kidding you. Because there's no governor that can do anything without getting the state house and the state legislature working with the governor. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down with the state house and the state legislature, and I'm going to put together a 10-year plan that we're all going to work on and agree to, which is going to cut spending. It's going to take our tax system. We're going to eliminate the income tax and get to a consumption tax. We're going to do all kind of things that make Ohio one of the top 10 states in the country instead of it being today one of the bottom 10 states in the country. And we can do that together, but we first have to change the governor and lieutenant governor. So I'm going to close with this. Look, there are a lot of candidates running, and it's interesting. I just posted this on Facebook, and if you're on my Facebook account, there's one candidate group that basically is saying, well, as long as there's a split vote, I win. You know who that is, right? That's the governor. He's basically saying, as long as there's a split vote, I'm going to win. There's another candidate out there saying, well, look, and this is so sad. I heard this from one of his people. That, well, look, we're going to try and get 20%, and we know you're not going to win if we do that. I'm not going to win. The problem is if I don't win, DeWine wins. That's another bad message. The message really should be, and we only have 30 days. By the way, one thing. I had a few people say to me, when's the election? When's the election? If you aren't aware of this yet, the election is on May 3rd. For every elected position except for the State House and the State Senate, and all the Central Committee seats will be decided then. But in 30 days, we are voting for governor, we're voting for Congress, we're voting for all those things. So if you weren't aware of that, May 3rd, it's not that far, and early voting actually starts this week. So please, please understand, here's what I need you to do. You heard the way that DeWine wins. He wins if we split the vote. He wins if we split the vote. Now I'm going to give you some good news, because there's all kind of polls out there. And by the way, a Fox poll with only 200 people, that's ridiculous. And I saw another poll with 400 people, a Trafalgar poll with 400 people. That's ridiculous. The polls are only points in time. I have a company working for us right now. By the way, we're texting, we're sending, hopefully you've got our flyers. We're on TV now. And we're also, we hired a company to do phone banking for us. They've called 1.7 million Republicans. Now, 1.7 million calls. There are only 900,000 Republicans going to vote for primary. Out of those 1.7 million calls, they asked a question. DeWine, Renacci, one of the other candidates, or undecided. And the results, we have 157,000 people who answered the call out of 900,000. So that's a pretty good poll, right? And out of that 157,000 is 44% Renacci, 37% DeWine, and 19% one of the other candidates. That's where we're at right now. Now, we can win this, but please, please, please do me a favor. Every day, it's going to change. Things change. People hear something. They think something. But you can help. You can help me, especially by May 3rd. Again, we're going to talk about, you're going to hear other candidates today that are probably running on August 3rd. Let's get May 3rd passed so then JimRenacci can jump in and help everybody on August 3rd, the House seats, the Senate seats, and the Central Committee seats, and we can make a difference. But first, I need your help. I need you to tell your family, your friends. You can't split the vote. We have to work together. We can make a difference together. But if we separate the vote count, we could cause some problems. So please, help me. Renacci and now, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Please, please, please. 30 days left. Let's make this 53% Renacci, 22% DeWine, and 8% everybody else. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a short little film we're going to show you, which will be an introduction into our next speaker, which is Mark Bainbridge. Hang on.
Republican Party. You are losing voters.
This is fascist.
There's a rift in the Ohio Republican Party, or ORP.
You are losing voters.
A fracture fueled not just by ideology,
No more to wine! We're done! Trump won!
but by serious questions about missing money.
Corruption.
There is a cover-up going on.
Mark Bainbridge is one of 66 members of the Ohio Republican State Central Committee, the governing board for the Ohio GOP. He's also a retired partner with the major international accounting firm, Ernst & Young.
I believe I am the only CPA on the State Central Committee.
And as a CPA, Bainbridge says he's uncovered something big. Millions of dollars that he says simply vanished from ORP's own financial records over the past 4 years without a good explanation where those millions went. We found some of those unexplained reductions in ORP's own financial statements. $1.7 million written off in 2017, nearly $437,000 removed in 2019. Those and other write-offs, Bainbridge says, add up to more than $3 million that he says simply disappeared.
$3 million. What happened to this money?
I have no idea, and no one will give us an explanation.
For more than a year and a half, Bainbridge has repeatedly tried to get answers about that missing money, meeting with ORP leaders and sending dozens of emails and letters. But Bainbridge says he's repeatedly been blown off.
They won't explain it. I've been asking that question ever since I got on the board.
In November, Bainbridge and 4 other members of the Central Committee filed this lawsuit against their own party, claiming missing funds totaling over $3 million may have been improperly misappropriated, misreported, and or otherwise improperly expended. Laura Rosenberger joined Bainbridge as one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit.
So you're worried?
Right, otherwise I wouldn't be here. It's serious.
Rosenberger says she was kicked off the audit committee for asking too many questions and demanding an audit. She claims the missing money is being covered up.
Are you worried about this corrupting the entire process?
Well, it already has.
In their lawsuit, Rosenberger, Bainbridge, and the others lay out the detail of that alleged missing money, including that $1.7 million that disappeared in 2017, and the $437,000 that vanished in 2019, plus $271,000 that disappeared in 2021, and $638,000 that vanished the same year.
There's no money missing.
ORP leaders strongly deny any allegation of a cover-up or missing cash. ORP Chairman Bob Paduchik has not responded to most of the missing money claims. But last August, Chairman Paduchik did write this memo to the committee, stating $654,310.76 of what Bainbridge claims to be missing money was actually tied to data entry errors. This isn't the first time ORP's financial books have had problems. This 2017 report by Right Side Compliance, an outside consultant commissioned by former ORP Chair Jane Timken, was a closely guarded secret for years until I obtained a copy. In it, the report notes a vast range of missing and lost records and information, concluding, had this audit been conducted by the Federal Election Commission, many of the issues identified would have been escalated to an enforcement case with assessment of fines.
Sir, you're out of order.
Chairman Paduchik and his leadership team have tried to quell Bainbridge and quash his continuing questions about missing money.
Mark, you and I will discuss this later because
You don't answer my phone calls.
In the hallway, I asked Chairman Paduchik to talk to me.
Right after? Just a quick one, I promise you.
He walked away, so I asked his communications director to schedule an on-camera interview with the chairman.
Can he give me an interview this coming week?
I think we can make it happen.
That was 4 months ago, and after repeated requests for an interview with Paduchik, I finally got an answer from that communications director in an email with 2 simple words: no thanks.
What do you think about him not talking about this?
I think it's a tragedy.
After all the questions from Bainbridge, Rosenberger, and the others, Chairman Paduchik announced he is conducting a full financial review, but stopped short of calling it an audit.
It is an audit, not a review? Is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me. I can get you a copy of it.
It's a mess.
It's very much a mess.
And that mess is now fueling allegations.
Corruption.
Of wrongdoing. With leaders embroiled in a controversy that's increasingly difficult to control.
This meeting is closed to the public.
Dwayne Pullman, Local 12 News.
Okay. How many think the party needs to be reformed?
Yes.
I'm going to bring up Mark, and he can share some more information with you.
He's here. Good job.
Thank you, Linda. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's great to see so many patriots out here today. You know, I've heard Jim speak a number of times, but one thing I am is very jealous of Jim Renacci, because he's the only person that the Ohio Republican establishment hates more than me. As you have heard, I am CPA, a retired partner from one of the big 4 international accounting firms, and my background gives me a unique understanding of the financial cover-up that's going on at the Ohio Republican Party by Chairman Paduchik, Treasurer Dave Johnson, the Ohio Secretary of State, Brent Rose, and obviously the governor is involved, because I've tried to get the governor to help us with this, and he hasn't returned any phone calls or any letters that he requested that I sent to him. And obviously Jane Timken is very involved in this cover-up. We need your help to bring accountability, integrity, transparency, and ethical behavior to the Ohio Republican Party, and to end this cover-up. So many people ask, what is the State Central Committee? The State Central Committee is the governing body of the Ohio Republican Party, or as the Ohio Revised Code calls it, the controlling board of the Ohio Republican Party. When you vote in the Republican primary, every 2 years you elect the State Central Committee person. There's 1 man and 1 woman from every district. This year, with all the crazy redistricting, as Jim mentioned, our election is not going to be on May 3rd, but will most likely be, as he said, on August 3rd, when we're voting for the new districts for the Ohio House, the Ohio Senate, and therefore the State Central Committee. The State Central Committee, the 2 members, there's 2 members from every state district, Senate district. So there's 33 Senate districts, and the way it's set up is there's 1 man and 1 woman. that represent you at the State Central Committee in that group. The Republican establishment really likes to keep the voters uninformed about the State Central Committee. They've been very successful doing this. They've also been very successful to get state employees, lobbyists, and other individuals with conflicts of interest on the State Central Committee. Again, it's the governing body of the Ohio Republican Party. This year, we want to change that. That is what today is all about. Most voters in the primaries look at the race for governor, U.S. Senate, and particularly this year, the Supreme Court. But we can change the leadership of the Ohio Republican Party this year by looking clear at the bottom of your ballot and voting for the Republican State Central Committee candidate, or candidates, one man and one woman, who want to end the cover-up and reform the party. As a CPA and as an advisor to many boards of directors, I can tell you how disappointed I've been in my 2-year experience on the Ohio GOP State Central Committee. The last two state Republican chairmen, Matt Borges, who is under federal indictment with Larry Householder for federal racketeering, and Jane Timken, are both corrupt, as is the current chairman, Bob Paduchik, who you saw in that film. Paduchik, in fact, is orchestrating this massive financial cover-up. And while there are many good State Central Committee members, the underlying problem with the GOP State Central Committee is that a majority of the members do not understand or are unwilling to perform their fiduciary responsibilities under Ohio law or have significant conflicts of interest. These members fall under two types of members. The first category consists of state employees, lawyers, lobbyists, and other individuals with conflicts of interest who use their position at the Ohio Republican Party to support their employers, who are elected officials, or their clients, or to support their lobbying business. I will tell you that, unfortunately, these practices are common in both political parties. However, the conflicts of interest, while they're taken seriously in the business community, and individuals in the business community are not allowed to vote on an issue where they've seen to even have the appearance of a conflict of interest, that is not true on the political parties in this state. These State Central Committee members, this first group, support the GOP establishment because it's in their personal financial interest to do so. They use the position on the board of the Ohio Republican Party to lobby for their clients and to get new lobbying and state legal contracts. The second category of the board of the State Central Committee in Ohio that we need to get rid of are members who are what I'll call political hacks, who want to be invited to the right parties and want complimentary invitations to big political fundraisers. Most of these people have not even read the Ohio Republican Party bylaws. They don't understand their fiduciary responsibilities as board members. Or do they understand the oversight role that the board is supposed to play on the Ohio Republican Party? They travel to Columbus every quarter to the Ohio Republican Party meetings and vote the way the GOP establishment tells them to vote. I call this second category the sheep. They're the sheep that are on the board of the Ohio Republican Party. The other way the establishment controls the Ohio Republican Party is by getting individuals to run as on the ballot for the State Central Committee. A lot of these people are former government officials who have very high name recognition. So The voters go and see their name and say, oh, Joanne Davidson, yeah, she used to be the, Speaker of the House. She was the first female Speaker of the House in the state of Ohio. So they'll elect someone like that. And then that person will normally resign a few months after they get elected. And guess what? The Ohio Republican Party finds another insider or government employee to replace them. And it's even to the point where the Governor DeWine, makes phone calls to members of the State Central Committee asking them to support his employees to be on the State Central Committee because he wants to control the Ohio Republican Party State Central Committee. We really need a strong-minded, dedicated State Central Committee members who do not want conflicts of interest, who do not have conflicts of interest, and are ready and able to perform their fiduciary responsibilities without conflicts of interest. That's the only way that we'll have the accountability, the integrity, the transparency, and the ethical behavior in the Ohio Republican Party State Central Committee. They will also make sure that we get an audit performed and end the financial cover-up. If reformers get a majority of the Ohio State Central Committee, the governing board of the Ohio Republican Party, we can fire Bob Paducci, reform the Ohio Republican Party, and revise the bylaws so that this does not happen again. So I ask for your help and your support for the candidates in this area. Many of whom will be up here, have already spoken or will be speaking, and vote for them to reform the Ohio Republican Party. Thank you.
I was not asking for regime change. I was merely expressing moral outrage. Wait a minute, wrong cheat sheet. My name is George Brunemann. I'm running for State Central Committee with Bart Holwadel, who you met earlier, in Senate District 8. And so when Mark is talking about board members that do whatever they're told by the Ohio Republican Party, that's who we're running against. Both of ours are long-term GOP people who do whatever they're told. So what is that? As Mark alluded, the State Central Committee acts as the board of directors of a company, right? So they're the ones that set directions. What are the key principles? What's the platform? What should be working toward? And that's supposed to reflect the voters. I mean, the idea is these 66 people represent you. That's not what's happening, as Mark made clear. What's happening is they're doing whatever they're told. In that most recent endorsement, they endorsed Mike DeWine, who, as Jim said, has kept the abortion clinics open, shut down the churches, schools, masked everybody up, all of the mandates. They supported a guy who literally killed small business in Ohio. Why did they do that? Well, the vote was 36-26 out of the 66 people that voted to endorse DeWine. Of those, 19 of the 36 have income that comes directly from Mike DeWine. So how do you change this? You have to get people in there who are loyal to others, loyal to the voters. And so I am running basically to help my children and grandchildren. That is the most important thing going on right now. What is happening with the indoctrination of our children? Did you know that Mike DeWine appointed 4 people to the school board who believe in critical race theory? Amy Acton was openly an abortionist. Those are not helping our children. They're not protecting our children. That is the #1 priority. The #2 priority is very similar. I believe in personal responsibility. It is our job to decide what's best for our children. It is our job to decide whether or not we get a shot, whether or not we go out in public. That's not the job of government, and it's certainly not the job of one individual with a Democrat medical director. Yeah, that was unintentional, I'm sure. And one individual that says, hey, we know better for you than what you know. It's absolutely ludicrous. This is America. When is it that you've seen a government agency stop you from going to church? Tell you that you can't meet with your dying relatives in hospitals and in nursing homes. That's absolutely crazy. And to reward that guy with the endorsement of the Republican Party, what do we stand for? We stand for personal responsibility. As JimRenacci said, I'm for whoever wants to wear a mask, knock yourself out and ingest all the CO2 you can get a hold of. Fine. But I'm not going to do it myself, and I don't think anyone should tell me to do that. So that's personal responsibility. And you can't have personal freedom without personal responsibility. The third thing I want to talk about is local choice. So the whole idea behind this idea of a board of directors or the 66 in the State Central Committee and the hundreds that make up the county central committee, some of whom are here tonight that are running, the whole idea is to get the will of the voters to influence the party, not the party to influence the voters. If you watched any of that endorsement meeting, and I admit I did, I took a shower immediately afterwards, it is disgusting. You look at that, it's like, I'm an engineering consultant, so I get paid to solve problems, not cause them. You watch what happened in that endorsement meeting, and it's totally dysfunctional. There is no rhyme or reason to what they do. They voted in secret, for crying out loud. And when the mention of voter came up, you could see they don't like the voters. They consider it their job to tell you what you should be doing and who you should be voting for. That's not the American way. That's not how we want the Republican Party to be. Now, we keep saying Republican. I think most of us would say we're Americans, right? We're freedom-loving Americans. Why are we always talking about the Republicans? Well, that's easy, because nobody on the Democrat side will give us the time of day. They're hell-bent on destroying the country. So our only choice is to reform the GOP. And in Ohio, so I live in the west side of Cincinnati. District 8 is Green Township, Delhi Township, Coleraine Township. In there, our problem is definitely the Democrats. I mean, the city of Cincinnati is 100% Democrat on the council. The county commissioners, 3 for 3, most of whom have trouble spelling their own names. So in Cincinnati, our problem is definitely the Democrats. But in Columbus, it's the Republicans. 248 couldn't get passed because the Chamber of Commerce was supported. They said that to our face. They're so loyal to the lobbyists for the chamber, the lobbyists for the hospitals, the lobbyists for the schools. If you think the PAC bills can get through this current Congress, you're nuts. The number one donor for Bob Cupp, Bill Sykes, the Senate President, is an education association. Every single one of them. Their top donors are education. You think they're going to pass the PAC bill? It's up to us. We need to get our voice to be heard in Columbus. So I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your vote for all of the State Central Committee members that are running as conservatives. Thank you very much.
Should I use this mic or this mic?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep it close.
I'm noticing that. We have to have it right up here. So, I'm Lori Viars, and I want to talk to you. Thank you. I want to talk to you about Central Committee, County Central Committee. Many of you are running for that, and I also want to just mention why I'm running for State Central Committee. Now, the dates are still a little in flux. Tuesday, May the 3rd, will be the County Central Committee. How many of you in here are on County Central Committee for your county, or you're running for County Central Committee? Stand up so we can see, so everybody can see. Excellent. Excellent. That is very encouraging. Sometimes it's called precinct executive or precinct captain, but I encourage you to use the real name that's on the ballot. use the name County Central Committee so that there's no confusion, because a lot of campaigns will have a precinct captain that may not be on Central Committee. So I encourage you to kind of train your folks that it's County Central Committee. And having conservatives on County Central Committee is important because our problems in Columbus, exactly what George said, our problems are often squishy rhino Republicans more so than the Democrats. That's absolutely true in Columbus, where the Republicans have control of everything. And it took us a decade to get the heartbeat bill passed. Jen Gross's bill, 248, is just sitting there because of this problem. In Washington, D.C., it's both the Democrats and the squishy rhino Republicans. But in Columbus, it's just the rhino Republicans. Most county central committees do endorsements, so that's another reason it's really important to be on your county central committee. If there's an endorsement vote, you want to have conservatives on there to vote for the conservative candidate. Whoever gets endorsed gets all kinds of special perks. They get mailings and slate cards. It saves them a fortune. Just thousands and thousands of dollars will be spent on their behalf by the county party. And so you want to be on your county central committee. And if you're not running for county central committee, find a conservative who is in your precinct and support them. Work the poll for them. Hold a sign for them. Go door to door with them and help them get elected. In Warren County, and probably in your county, each county can have their own bylaws and they can be slightly different, but in Warren County and probably in some of your counties, if a countywide official dies or retires in between elections, guess who picks the replacement? The County Central Committee. So again, another reason why we need conservatives on County Central Committee. And County Central Committee is just a few hundred voters. It's basically your neighborhood. The most you could have would be 1,400, and that's including Democrats, which the Democrats won't vote on this. This is just an intra-party position. So I pulled a list the other day for a Central Committee candidate in Mason, and it was 149 Republican voters. When we took out the duplicates for household, it was about 100 households. That's winnable. That is doable. So be sure and visit the table. Linda, where is the table for the Central Committee helping materials? Right over here? See, right, look over here. Right over here? Stop there. All of you who were standing, running for Central Committee, County Central Committee, visit the table. They have all kinds of things that will help you win your race. Now, the same reasons you should run for County Central Committee is why I am running. Those reasons are the same reasons I'm running for State Central Committee. The County Central Committee governs your county party. The State Central Committee governs the state party, ORP, Ohio Republican Party. The ORP, SCC, we use a lot of these acronyms, but I think everybody in this room knows a lot of the problems, and thank you to Mark Bainbridge for exposing some of them. They endorse DeWine. They usually endorse themselves for State Central Committee. They endorse themselves, and then they get all the perks, the slate cards, the mailings. They endorse moderate or liberal Republicans over conservatives almost consistently. I mean, you can count on one hand the times that they have endorsed candidates that we like. So thank you all. I want to thank Mark Bainbridge for exposing the missing money. That needs to be investigated. And if there's not a problem like they claim, why are they so afraid to have an audit? If you've done nothing wrong, you would welcome the audit to clear your name. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I hope I meet you afterwards. My district is all of Warren County and the eastern side of Hamilton County. Thank you.
Just a quick public service announcement. So everything that Lori was just talking about as far as the materials for running for precinct exec, it's on the website, restoreliberty.us. If you go there, on the front page, it'll say Precinct Executive Process. Click on it. It'll give you all the material on what you need to do. It'll take you to the PDFs of what you need to file. It's all there. Also, there's a donate button in the top right corner to help with stuff like this. There's donation buckets on the way. Any help you could give would be greatly appreciated. But you can get all of the information at that website. The QR code there works as well. RestoreLiberty.us. Thanks.
Wow, what a turnout. I just want to give a special shout out to my partner, Linda Caudville. Her and I were out in the Ohio Freedom Coalition. And I want to talk to you about two things today. First of all, the Advantage app that I've been using when I go door to door for Jim and Joe and John Adams and George and also Barbara Holwadel, and also the value of speaking to a voter at their door face to face. Jim talked a little bit about the phone poll and the great results that we're getting from that and how powerful that is. What's even more powerful is when you knock on somebody's door and they answer and you get a chance to speak to them for a few minutes about your candidates. I've been doing this for a long time. I actually started campaigning for McCain back in 2008. So I know the value of this. It's very, very powerful. I got involved because I cannot stand the Democrat Party. And now I am flat out furious at what they are trying to do to our nation. And we've got rhino establishment Republicans enabling them. That's what we want to do. So I'm encouraging everybody. I'm over there in the corner. I'll show you how to use this app. But I'm encouraging you as well to have the guts and just the confidence in yourself and your candidates to talk to voters in person, because we can reinforce what that phone poll has already done, and we can win this thing for Jim and Joe and John and Barbara and George and Lori and anybody else who's running for Central Committee or any statewide office. And folks, it's not that hard. The hardest thing about this job is developing an exit strategy, because people are going to want to tell you their life story. So I encourage you to come see me over there at the table. There's a gentleman here in a blue suit, Ron Polacco. He's around here somewhere. He can help you download the app off of the Apple, whatever it is. I'm challenged electronically, and I know how to use this. It's awesome. And also, you don't need to carry around paper. You do it all on your phone. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Kurt. My name is Curt Hartman, and I'm a former township trustee here in Claremont County, and most recently served as a common pleas court judge in Hamilton County. But now I'm back in the private sector practicing law and fighting for individual freedom and liberty. Just want to talk to you guys briefly here, because Linda's only given me a few minutes, about the importance of our elections. And I kind of look back at the COVID that we've been experiencing for the past 2 to 3 years. And I say there's probably one positive we should take out of that. If we have not learned anything from the COVID pandemic, it's that our individual freedoms and liberties are being threatened, and they can be taken away quickly. And therefore, elections are more important. Elections do matter. And we've all seen 6 situations in Australia, the massive shutdowns that have occurred there. Going so far where a police officer went into the middle of a Catholic Mass to stop the Catholic Mass to try to enforce a mask mandate. That's in a democracy. We've seen most recently up in Canada with the Premier and the truckers convoy basically using the power of the government to stifle free speech, to stifle individual freedom and liberty. And I bring that up because in this country, if you think back, in November of 2018, we were voting for candidates. November of 2018, COVID was not even on the horizon, not on the radar screen. Well, except maybe in China itself. But those people we voted for in November of 2018 had a profound impact on our freedom and liberty. Those are the politicians, the public officials we voted for, who shut down mom and pop businesses in favor of the big box stores. Those are the politicians who said abortion is an essential service, while other medical treatment is not. And so it's important, and I encourage you, both for yourselves personally, for your friends, when you're meeting with your friends and neighbors or family members, when you're looking at candidates. We've heard plenty of candidates tell us that they are conservatives. John McCain, Mitt Romney told us they were conservative Republicans, right? Talk is cheap. When candidates come to you, look at them, evaluate them, figure out what is in their heart. They can tell you they are pro-life, they're pro-Second Amendment. Those are important issues, I grant you. But where are they going to be on the issues that are not on the radar screen? Where are they going to be when your freedom and liberty, my freedom and liberty are at stake? Do they have the gumption? Do they have that foundation to say, I am for individual freedom and liberty, or am I for the government? That's what this election, that's what COVID has taught us. That's what this upcoming election is about. But let us never forget that going forward for any election. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
What Curt said is very, very true. I know most of you have been hurt by losing your freedom. I know my mother had died in 2020, and she died in a nursing home. I could not visit her, and then we couldn't have a funeral. In addition to that, I had found out that I had breast cancer in January of 2020, and I was able to get the surgery because COVID hadn't hit yet. But when I needed to go back for follow-up exams, I was not permitted. The doctors would not see me. So, you know, there are a lot of things that happen to all of us. And we need to make sure that those people that caused that we don't re-elect them again. We have to make sure no more DeWine. The next issue that we have is election integrity. And we have a person running for Secretary of State who wants to reform some of the things that happened back in 2020. So I'd like to bring up JohnAdams.
Thank you.
It's on.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Stay close to it.
Stay real close to it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Linda wanted me to sit up here, but I've always liked to sit at the back of the bus. That way I can keep an eye on all of you. I was back there. My name is JohnAdams, and I have been married to Tara for 38 years.
Good job.
We have 7 children, and it's great. I'm a small business owner for 30, 35, 36 years. 2 of my sons are in the business, which allows me to do what I'm doing right now. And I served in the State House for 8 years. 4 under Strickland and 4 under Kasich. Served in leadership. Learned a lot about politics. A lot I didn't like. But we fought the good fight. Since 2020, polling has showed that voters have lost confidence in their electoral process. Doesn't matter what state you're in, all 50 states. Every one of you can walk in right now, well, when you go to vote, you can walk in and vote with an electric bill, a water bill. You can do that. You've been told that we have voter ID in the state of Ohio.
but you can actually present yourself 7 different ways. The Constitution. I will run the office as a constitutional office holder, and I will never change the date of an election or a primary because I'm not permitted to. Amen. Only the legislature can set the date of an election. I will honor that. How about Zuckerberg money, ladies and gentlemen? Why would anybody with an R behind their name take or permit $7.5 million to be spent in Ohio well, they say it was only used for COVID safety measures. I don't believe that. I would audit that Zuckerberg money. How about the gold standard? Everybody, well, politicians will tell you that we have the gold standard in Ohio. The gold standard, secure elections, don't look at them. We're safe. Well, the Heritage Foundation did a terrific study over the last 2 years. We're ranked 21st. I don't know about you, but on the podium, gold, bronze, silver. Where do you get 21 out of that? That's a big podium. I had to chuckle. Colorado's going through the same problems, but there's great things happening all over America by people like you. It's happening. It's the undercurrent. And they're pissed off.
That's right.
Stay angry, my friends. Stay out of the bars, but stay angry. Colorado, they're ranked 34th. And she was telling us that they have the gold standard in Colorado. It seems to be the phrase of all politicians. I'm not a politician. I don't want to be one. So what will I do for you if elected on May 3rd?
Get rid of the machines. Yes, thank you.
That's at the bottom of my list. Let me put two in here. Photo ID. We must have a single photo ID. We'll check for citizenship.
Yes.
How about fraud? Fraud. We'll set up our own department. We will look for fraud. We will find fraud because there is fraud. And we will prosecute fraud. When you prosecute fraud, you eliminate fraud.
Full forensic audit. Yep.
That too. We have a lot of things to do with our elections in every state, but let's just do it in Ohio. See, they don't want me back in Columbus, Ohio, do they? No, because JohnAdams won't shut up.
Good job.
Our voter rolls are a mess. They have been for a long time. We currently have ERIC, an acronym that scrubs our voter rolls. But ERIC, back in its infancy, was a product of the Pew Charitable Foundation with seed money from George Soros.
Yep, which means it's corrupt.
And we currently have 31 states having ERIC scrub our rolls. We're one of them. I would cancel that contract immediately.
Yep.
We will bring it in-house, and we will find ways to solve the problems. Because that's what we have to do. Election day.
Yes.
3 little words. Day. Early voting starts in 2 days. I like to vote on election day. 28 days early voting invites fraud. Because they'll figure out who's not voting, and they'll cast your vote for you. It just didn't happen in the 6 states that stopped counting. It happens in all the states. Back to those machines. They are vulnerable. Nye County, Nevada. 5 commissioners voted unanimously after the Secretary of State, who was running for Secretary of State, went in there with 2 other gentlemen. They presented evidence. They could not dispute it. So 200,000, just under 200,000 population in that county is going to vote paper ballots and hand count. On the drive up here, I asked a couple questions to my phone. What was the population in 1960 of Ohio? Right around 10 million. What was it in 70 and 80? Just a smidgen over 10 million. Close to 11 million. Well, I know we weren't using machines back in 1960. We weren't using machines in 1970. We can go back because the population hasn't changed that much. We've counted that way before. To eliminate fraud, to make our vote secure, to make your vote count. I will fight for you. I will be your voice. They don't want me back in Columbus, Ohio. This is the undercurrent. We can win this. Talk to 7 people. Tell them to talk to 7 people. Get on that email chain. Get on that social media. It can be done. It's an uphill battle, but that's fine. You will have a choice for Secretary of State May 3rd. If you go to the website, JohnAdamsForOH.com, you can click on any one of those statements, his record. His record is very similar to Stacey Abrams. Do we know who that is? I'm not kidding you. If everybody knew this record of his last 3 years, 3.5 years, you would vote for John Adams. You simply would, but not everybody knows this. A lot of counties don't even know John Adams is going to be on the ballot May 3rd. It's just the way it's working out, folks. That's fine. I ask you for your vote. Thank you very much.
Next, I want to bring up somebody who I think is probably one of our best House reps that we have in Ohio. Hands down, I think she's fabulous. She is a true medical freedom advocate. Jennifer Gross.
All right. So, people are dedicated when you get here on a Sunday afternoon and you guys are here. Now, I personally feel like it's like a reunion because I know so many of you guys. I cannot tell you how much it really encourages me to see you because you guys are the true patriots. Now, I got an article yesterday and one of my constituents out of Westchester, you know what he calls me? The disruptor. At the end of his article yesterday, he says, but you know what? The person asking the questions disrupts so that we move to the right side of freedom. And that is what I'm about. That is absolutely what I'm about. So, I used to be a homeschooler, so we're going to talk. Webster's 1828 dictionary defines freedom as this. I got to read my notes because those of you who know me know that I am so quiet, shy, and withdrawn that I can never think of anything to talk about. I'm kidding. So Webster, he was a Christian, by the way, he defines liberty as freedom from restraint in a general sense and applicable to the body, the will, or the mind. The body is at liberty when not confined. The will or the mind is at liberty when not checked or controlled. A man enjoys liberty when no physical force operates to restrain his actions or volitions. Stand up if you believe that mandates and freedom can exist in the same sentence. They can't, can they? No. They absolutely cannot. Two of my favorite people in history are Harriet Tubman and Patrick Henry. And each of them in their own way said, "Give me liberty or give me death." If you had to request an exemption within the last 2 years, you are this close, dangerously close, to losing your freedom. Because the next step after we give you permission to keep your job because you got a shot is you will now get whatever it is they tell you. So don't think that an exemption, you got a little bit of a break. But you know, people will say to me, "Oh, Jen, it's just a slippery slope." Well, the mask, right? It went forced masking and now forced back. Okay, you chose, I'm already hearing this from my lovely trolls. You chose to get the shot, right? You chose it to keep your job. Ohio HB 248 was dropped in April of 2021. The bill is called the Vaccine Choice Anti-Discrimination Act. It covered all vaccines because we know, guys, that there's about 20 mRNA vaccines coming now. Yep. So some people will say, well, the bill was too broad. I get that. But how much freedom is too much freedom for you is what I would say. This bill was the best medical freedom bill in its sub form. The original bill needed some work, so the sub bill is superior to the original bill. The bill received 1,350 Ohioan proponents. There were 100 proponents whose files were rejected by the chair. We had 1,500 Ohioans come and take the day off, take 3 hours, drive up, ride in, and testify. But your House didn't hear you. 1,500. That's a lot of Ohioans, that's a lot of hours, that's a lot of time. And that was the beginning for me, a freshman, to see what is going on. And my friend, George, talked about that, right? Shortly after I gave testimony in the Ohio Health Committee, OSHA, 3 weeks later, changed the requirements for what a reportable safety event looks like. If you had lost work time 12 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours after the shot, at that point it would have been a recordable safety event if your employer required you to get the shot. But 3 weeks after I gave testimony, OSHA changed that requirement. Now I'm a freshman, so I'm still thinking, you know, what am I? I'm just a freshman. I'm just Jennifer Gross, and those of you who know me know that I don't, you know, I'm just like you are. I'm someone who decided to run. I was chosen by 2 very conservative women who said, "I want you to consider running for office," and I probably essentially said, "Oh, no, thank you, but thank you." I want to talk to you, though, about your Ohio Constitution. The Ohio Constitution, this is what one of them looks like. This is not my favorite copy. I have another one that's organized better, but you can get these for $10.95 on Amazon if you use Amazon. But the inalienable rights addressed in the Ohio Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. You've got to be educated. You've got to know the Constitution. It says, our Ohio Constitution says this: all men are by nature free and independent, and have certain inalienable rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending life, liberty, acquiring and possessing, protecting property, and seeking and obtaining happiness and safety. If you choose to get a vaccine, that is your choice. I was part of Operation Warp Speed. I have changed a lot. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I never was, but if you look me up in the media, they have labeled me as such. Now I've changed. But I will tell you that if safety for you means getting a shot, then that's your choice. If safety means not getting a shot and not being coerced to get a shot, that is also your choice. The rights of conscience. The rights of conscience in the Ohio Constitution, again, you must know your Constitution and know your rights, says, and this isn't, I'm taking this out for just brevity, the rights of conscience are addressed in the Ohio Constitution as well in Article 1, Section 7, which states, no preference shall be given by law to any religious society, nor shall any interference of the rights of conscience be permitted. We need to keep fighting, and I just got a message. I'm going to add this, so I'll be a little disjointed here, but we have to keep fighting. And do you know how I know? Many of you know that I'm what they call a combat veteran. That means that I served in a combat zone because I was a nurse. I didn't use my Second Amendment to haul off and shoot people. But I was expert qualified in the 9mm and the 38. But on a serious note, my fellow veterans are dead. They are dead in Section 60 of Arlington. If we do not stand for the freedoms that we have in Ohio, who's going to do that? And if we do not stand, then they died in vain. And I'm telling you, not on my watch. Not on my watch. So we press on, right? We, your legislature, and that includes me, have not protected your comprehensive freedom. Notice I didn't say give you freedom. You already have it. And people and Ohio citizens, such as a young woman named Diana Smith, yes, that's her name, she just stepped up and said, well, your legislature's not doing it. I'm going to do something called the HB 248 ballot initiative. So 4 times, they got 2,000 signatures to try to get this initiative on the ballot, and 4 times your executive branch, Attorney General Yost, denied you the opportunity to even vote on it. That was almost 8,000 Ohioans. I can't tell you they were all different, but let's just say it was the 1,500 plus the 8,000. Now we're getting to 10,000 Ohioans who cared enough to say this matters to me, right? So it was rejected, and let me tell you about this little boy. It was people, by the way, Ohio Advocates for Medical Freedom. They are the strongest medical freedom group in the state. I encourage you to look them up. I just got a text today. This boy lives in candidate Renacci's district. His name is Tanner. The Cleveland Clinic has denied Tanner. He's a 9-year-old boy in renal failure. His father is available and a match to give him a kidney. The Cleveland Clinic has now denied Tanner a kidney because his father is not vaccinated. Wow. If HB 248 had been passed, the discrimination that is occurring, and it's still occurring, don't think it's stopped. It's just that many people were coerced and they acquiesced to the pressure or they quit their jobs. But guys, please, the discharge petition still exists. They'll tell you, oh, I didn't follow the process, the process, the process. I don't know about you, but is freedom a process? Or were you born with freedom because you're an American? I want you to remember Tanner. We need that bill. But before I finish up, I want to talk to you about something else. How am I doing on time? 3 minutes, okay. We have the Save Women Sports Act, HB 61 in Ohio. That bill is a bill from Jenna Powell. And again, it requires schools, state institutions of higher education, private colleges to designate separate single-sex sports teams which, hold on, would protect women's ability to compete against biological women in sports. We need to pass this legislation to protect women's sports in Ohio. They will tell you when you write them that you didn't follow the process. Are you hearing that? I didn't follow the process. HB 248 didn't follow the process. They're doing the same right now with 327 and Sarah Fowler Arthur in our CRT bill. They didn't follow the process. When you hear that, that is speak for I'm not going to pass it. You have to learn. These are a lot of things that I've learned. The time in history, this time in history is a great lesson for us all of us. There are many things that we learned from President Trump. But one thing he showed us is who we are. Right? He showed us our power. Don't ever think that I'm the strongest one, that my strength comes, but because my strength comes from the Lord. And I live with the scripture that says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Yes. Please don't ever forget that. Your government representatives, if they're not hearing you and they're not meeting with you, I have a town hall every single month. I do a newsletter every single month. If they're not meeting with you and they're not responding with you, who is the term limiter? You are. Yes. Vote them out. Remember that only approximately 30% of all Americans rose up during the Revolutionary War, and I'm not saying to take up arms yet, but 30% of Americans rose up to fight for liberty and freedom, while 70% of the rest of the colonists were willing to sit and drink expensive tea and pay high taxes. That's my version. I'm sure my building blocks for liberty people will set me straight. They trained me, by the way. No. So I'm here to link arms with you. I'm also here to show you that not every legislator is a rhino, and that together we're stronger. We have to link arms. Everything you've heard from George and Mr. Bainbridge and our Central Committee, all the things that you have heard today are true. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'm still naive enough to believe that liberty and freedom are first and foremost for all Ohioans. All Ohioans. So, I'm going to end with this. Thomas Jefferson said, "Our liberty can never be safe, but in the hands of the people themselves." So God bless you guys. God bless this state. I thank you so much for the time, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Okay. One thing I'd like to do, I would like to recognize the people who helped organize this event, and I'd like for them to stand. George Brunemann,
what did he do?
Holwadel, Angie Settle, Lori Viars, Sue Babcock, Sue Hardenberg, Standish Gordon, Mike Connaughton, Ina Lofspring, Juliet Tissot, Tyson Butler, and Viva Gorian. I also want to recognize the people that have tables here. We've got the Patriot Awards, Friends of Liberty, Building Blocks for Liberty, Protect Ohio Children, and then we've got 3 candidates, JimRenacci, JohnAdams, Mike Gibbons had a table. I also want to recognize the 2 tables over here that you really should spend some time at. One is the precinct table or Central Committee. Sorry, Lori. And then the Advantage Act table. Our last speaker is someone that I consider a friend. He's got a wonderful story that he's going to share with you. He's our future Lieutenant Governor. Let's give him a hand.
Thanks everybody for letting me be here today. Actually, I had a warm-up talk this morning up in Bucyrus, Ohio. You know where that is. In case you're wondering, it's about 2.5 hours north of here. Wow. But I think Jim spoke, or Renacci spoke first or earlier today, so I won't repeat our platform and everything he said. What I thought would be interesting is to talk about why I said yes to running with Renacci and why I believe he picked me based on what he told me. Because you see, this was not a dream of mine to run for lieutenant governor for many reasons. But actually, my day job of being a movie producer was also not a dream of mine. When you grow up in an orphanage, like I did, my dream was to have a family. Yes. And to be able to raise a family, and to be a parent and a father to 2 kids that I didn't get to have. So I take this very seriously, running for office, because our state and our country is in a very serious spot right now. And we need good people, like people that can stand behind this microphone today, to lead this state and to lead this country. So with choosing someone to run with, quite a few people in Ohio asked me to consider running for statewide office, governor or lieutenant governor. And what I realized is, being a film producer, I think I'm a pretty good judge of actors, good actors, bad actors. And what I realized is, politics is not a whole lot different than the creative film world. And there's quite a few, what I would like to call actors in government right now and running for office. There's a guy who tried to act as a conservative for the past 45 years during primaries. But then he tends to show his true colors during the other 3.5 years of holding office. There's another guy that is pretending to be a cowboy and a restaurant owner to sell some hamburgers that evidently he buys from Costco. There's another, I don't even know what to say about the other guy running because I haven't seen him yet, but I hear he's out there, and I wish I had a good joke, but I am all over this state 2 or 3 times a day at events, and I just haven't seen them yet. But then there's JimRenacci. And the first time that I sat down with JimRenacci, he's the only person I met with that did not talk about his plan to win office. He had a novel idea. All we talked about for about a 4-hour morning meeting was his plan for Ohio. And it was this novel idea. Because what I've learned is political science is the art of getting to your next elected position. It has nothing to do with leading and nothing to do with running governorship. It has nothing to do with making the state a better place. Political science is all about me, my career. We did not talk about that with Jim. We actually talked about his frustrations, his anger with what's happening in Ohio, and how for the past 3 years, since 2019, he has been traveling throughout this state, listening to people to see if his frustrations are the same as everybody else. So here's why Jim said he chose me. And there were quite a few people on the list. I think some people here were actually on his committee to help him select someone. He said, Joe, I have a plan and solutions for a lot of the issues in this state. But what I know about you is you have the ability to relate to so many people in this state. And we're in Loveland, Ohio. The issues that a lot of people are dealing with here are not the issues they're dealing with in Portsmouth, Ohio. I know that because I've been there, and drugs is the #1 issue in Portsmouth, Ohio. It's also not the same issue that they're dealing with in Licking County. Evidently, they're dealing with solar farm issues that I don't know enough about, according to them. But I'm learning, I'm trying. Jim said, Joe, because of your journey, you have the ability to understand and relate to a lot of people. He said, Joe, you understand drug addictions, alcohol, abuse, just the family that you were born into. He says, you understand poverty because you lived on the streets. You understand the importance of family because you did not have one when you grew up. And it has been your #1 focus since you got to Ohio, was to have the ability, and after you met your wife, to have your own family. He said, Joe, you understand the importance of the military, first responders, police, because you're a vet. You were active duty for 6 years at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He says, Joe, you understand the issue of being a business owner in Ohio, because you've been a business owner for 10 years in finance and another 10 years in the film world. So you understand the issue of business. He said, Joe, you understand the issue of conservatives getting our message across, and you understand that the left has been very strategic using entertainment, media, and education to indoctrinate all of us and all of our children. And he said, Joe, you understand the issue of life and how important it is, because you put your neck out there and you made a movie about abortion called Unplanned. And you met so many people. And by the way, I didn't do it for finance reasons. Horror films how you make money in Hollywood. It is not abortion movies. My wife sometimes wonders why don't we go after the easy money one? The other issue that Jim said that I understand well is this cardboard cutout here of President Donald Trump. Because I got so tired of hearing their story from the family themselves that the media would never tell. So I asked them, can I tell your story? And spent about 4 months with them, including President Trump. So I actually got to hear firsthand why he needs to make America great again. I'm not one of the candidates that stands next to the cardboard cutout and pretends I know the guy. I was with him in the residence of the White House when he told me the importance of making America great again. So I say all that because that's why Jim chose me to be his running mate. It's because I understand people and Jim understands the problems and the solutions that we need to deploy for. It's going to take both. It's going to take his CPA brain to fix the state, and it's going to take my ability to communicate to all of you and the rest of Ohio what needs to be done and how we're going to do it. So in 30 days, I think it's official now, when we all have the opportunity to vote in the primary, you don't have a choice. There is one conservative ticket on May 3rd that's going to represent you for the state of Ohio. There's only one conservative ticket that's going to make Ohio great again, and one ticket that's going to make Ohio a state you can be proud of again, and that's the Renacci ticket. So thank you for your vote.
I can't disagree with that at all. Renacci is the ticket for governor. I have some sets of car magnets, and they are available over at the Renacci table for purchase. So if anyone would like to have a set, stop over there and Mary can get you taken care of. I think that's it for today. Thank you for coming.